morning. Good afternoon. Hi. Welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. I am Christel Crawford. And welcome to my living room. I'm not saying this will be the last time you see it, but it will be the last time you see it for a while. I am heading to Europe on Tuesday. So today is Monday. That's tomorrow. Hi, Jenny. I'm going to see Jenny Frithioff in about 2 weeks because I'm flying to Europe tomorrow night, late, like 10 p.m. Atlanta time. So it's a big tour. The big tour begins. The big world tour begins. Hey, hey, hey. Hi, Aurelia. Hi, Dominique. Nice to see you guys. So cheers. Cheers to Europe. Cheers to possibilities. Cheers to lots of change. Cheers to needing a little bit of alcohol today. And yes, if you are listening to this in the future, I am drinking online. That's this kind of business. Hi, everybody. I had somebody ask me once if I was an alcoholic because I drank in all my videos. The answer is, wouldn't you like to know? Okay, hi, Tanya. So I called this week's episode, Is Your Marketing Working? And it was interesting calling it that because actually I didn't get a lot of questions, and that's fine. But so I'm sitting at my piano today. Oh God, look! Hey, look what I have on my shirt. Anyway, because I am, but also I was. This marketing conversation is so interesting because one of the things I have a class starting in 2 weeks called Marketing to Engage, which is really I was like, what conversation can I have about this with you guys that would, hey Sarah, nice to see you, that would preface this conversation. And oh my gosh, basically this conversation came out of a whole awareness of all the marketing that I do constantly to invite you guys, to get to know you guys, to get to connect with you guys all over the world, so that we can connect, so that we can change things, so that, you know, I can, if you want me to be a catalyst in your world, I get to be. And also to get the Access Consciousness tools out. Hi, Kelly. So, hi, Christina. So, marketing, I'm going to put that in like big ugly air quotes. These are my ugly air quotes. If you'd like to send me a selfie of your ugly air quotes, marketing, hi, Jillian, is everything that I do to make you and me connecting possible. And what I noticed is that there was a couple things I noticed because I also do a lot of coaching around business. I also am online a lot. I'm also I look at a lot of things, right? So I see a lot of different things that people do in marketing, and I've taken a lot of different classes and all the things. But there's some elements about marketing that I've been choosing differently in the last little bit that has really changed what's showing up in my life and in my business and with you guys. And I thought I'd share those a little bit with you and then invite you to a bigger conversation. If you'd like more of this in your world, we have a class starting, Marketing to Engage, in 2 weeks. You can find it on my website. But marketing to engage, what is that? And is your marketing working? So one of the things I see a lot is the doing of marketing. Okay, there's so many different conversations about marketing. There's so many different classes you can take. There's so many different trains of thought and schools of things, and, you know, get really clear and find your target audience and find your avatar and all this stuff. You know, a lot of you guys that are in business have probably taken a lot of these classes. And I took a lot of these classes, and I'm not negating or discounting any of them. But what I want to talk about a little bit more today are the elements that don't get talked about a lot. And those are the energetic and the action elements. And they are like, hey, thanks, Catherine. Oh, there's the link if you guys want to check out the class. Gary Douglas is such a catalyst in my life. He's the creator of Access Consciousness. And he started talking about, not too long ago, probably sometime last year, about the difference between engagement and involvement, and the difference between engagement and doing. Now, we talk a lot in Access Consciousness about the difference between doing and being. And in a lot of areas in my life, being stays kind of a theoretical thing until it totally doesn't, until I totally get it. And so with this, with the initial introduction to the conversation of engaging versus being involved, I was kind of like, well, had, I was asking questions at the time about having more people in my classes. And if you guys do any classes, like bars classes, any kind of class, online or otherwise, you probably want more people. What does it take? And so I started asking about that, like, what does it take? And what started coming up to my question was this conversation about engaging. And I've been a waitress for a very long time. I am 43 this year. I have literally, so for 5 years I haven't. So let's say for about 20 years of my life, I was in the restaurant industry. So I was either a bartender or I was a waitress somewhere. I was doing other things at the same time, but I was always in some sort of restaurant. So it was required of me to do some sort of thing to get my job done. You guys have eaten at restaurants, you've been waited on by people, there's things required. But I don't know if you guys have noticed the difference in your service people. Do you ever notice that there's some service people that you're just like, I love her, I want to bring her home with me, can I tip her $5 billion, And other people that you literally write in and write a bad review about the whole restaurant because you were waited on by that person. So that person can literally, that person is literally the creator of, for the most part, your experience there. Now, you could go in with all these tools and interesting point of view and a lot of space and not really be affected by that person. But at the end of the day, that person is a really key part of your experience in a restaurant. And so I was that person for a long, long time. And one of the things that I became aware of really fast is that in this big macrocosm of a restaurant, I had my own microcosm to create with. And I could either go in as an employee, disgruntled and tired and usually hungover, and do that. And I did. I had shifts like that. I mean, and as I was waitressing through my 20s, like I had a lot of family drama going on at home. So I would come in, in all manner of states. I would come in having just fought with my mom. I got kicked out of my house a lot. Sometimes I had a home. Sometimes I didn't have a home. My life was in a lot of chaos. So I did come in sometimes with all kinds, sometimes I was sad, sometimes I was depressed, sometimes I was mad, other times I was happy. But here's one of the things I started noticing is that when I was happy and I walked in knowing I owned the place, and I wasn't looking for anybody else, none of my clients had to do anything, like I wasn't looking for anybody else to change that for me, to be any different in order for me to have a good experience there, I made a lot of money. And on the shifts where I came in like upset or depressed or really didn't want to be there or, fuck, I have to work again, I didn't make that much money. And so that was one facet of it. And I remember consciously starting to pay attention to this because I've always been really competitive with myself. I've always wanted to see if I could outcreate myself the next day. So I started paying attention to what creates a good shift and what creates a bad shift. And the other thing I started paying attention to is that I could be having a good shift right alongside somebody else who was having a bad shift, and I would literally walk out with almost 5 times more money than they did. And so I started noticing that, and I was like, how does this work? That's kind of factor number 1. Factor number 2 is I almost constantly got asked by patrons at the restaurant if I owned the place. And it never mattered where I was working. I worked at big chain restaurants like Outback Steakhouse and Boston Pizza. Outback's all over the US. Boston Pizza's up in Canada. I'm trying to think of some others. I've worked at so many. Chili's. It didn't matter if it was working at a big box or a little mom and pop boutique place. I always got asked if I was the owner. So some of these things started standing out to me. And so I started, and then in the middle of my 30s, early 30s, I did own a restaurant for 3 years. I owned a pizzeria with my husband at the time. And so I got to see what it was like to fully for real pay all the bills and own the place and be responsible for all the ordering and all these free drinks that all the kids take because they're like, these are free and they're in the pop machine. I'm like, no, they're not. They're 45 cents a pop and you guys drink 25 a day, So, so I got a chance to actually see what that was like. And so from there, that's a whole story in and of itself. But then I got to go into, I worked at other restaurants after that. And so I always got asked if I was the owner because from then on and before, I just treated the place like I owned it. And what I mean by that is if this was my place, if I wasn't just an employee in a place, and I owned the place, like the entranceway to the restaurant would be taken care of, even though that wasn't my job. And I would make sure that the bathrooms were taken care of, even though that quote unquote wasn't my job. And I would, when people walked into the restaurant to be seated, the hostess may or may not be good that day, but I wanted to take care of those people. And so I made everything my job, even though it wasn't technically my job, because that's what I chose. And I've realized recently that I bring all of that into what it is that I do now. And one of my biggest things, and you can even ask my team, is that all of you guys that are a part of my classes or, coaching with me or whatever are cared for, and your experience is cared for. You're not just left hanging with no details. You're not left, I have all these different things on my website where, you can chat with me and you can contact me and I make sure that, after you sign up for something, there's a thank you page that, says, hey, you might not have gotten the email that I did just send, but here's why and here's what you can do. So I do everything in my power to try to care for your experience because I care about that. And so that's one of the facets I would say is super important to creating a future in your business. And there was a period of time with the online business where I did not choose that. I would do a thing and let things go, and then I would quit it, and then I'd quit people, and then I'd drop them off my list. And so I wasn't treating my email list or all of you guys that are connected to me, I wasn't treating you like you were my job to care for. And so that showed, and it changed things in my business, and things dropped off. But the moment that I was like, no, this is not just a business, this is a nurturing space that I'm creating that may not always feel nurturing to you, because I'll also kick your ass and tell you to choose. But you will, if you come into my space, you will always be empowered and you will always be cared for to the best of my ability. And that was a facet of engagement that I've always been, that I didn't know that I was. And thank you, Jillian. And so, I don't know, I forget why I'm probably going to lose my points a lot tonight. But so that's one facet of marketing to engage that for me has always been a part of creating the future. And I actually had some people just out of the blue on the last call I was on, just like unannounced and uninvited, like they just spoke up and really said, yeah, wow, this and that, really reiterated that. So that was really amazing. So I guess what I want to say, clearly this is really easy for me to say. I have a lot to say about this, which is why we're doing a 3-part class, but that's kind of like on the back end of caring about the future of your business that seems like it doesn't have anything to do with marketing. But the thing is, like, if you don't be that in the world, then why would people choose you? And this is one of the things that I see a lot in marketing right now, is I just don't care about it. So I'll see a lot of videos, or I'll see somebody doing a thing, and I might even be interested in the topic, but I don't care about them, and I don't care about the thing. They don't incite in me some sort of like caring or gratitude or any of the elements of intimacy, honoring and trust, and thank you so much, oh my God. Any of those things, like, how when you're watching a movie, it's like if you don't care about the characters, they could die and you feel nothing, but there's other movies that you could, I'll talk about that, Bert. There's other movies you can watch where when you care about them, you're like, oh my God, buckets of tears when they die. What's the difference? Well, really the difference is that they're being them. That's really the difference. And whoever has crafted the storyline in the movie has allowed you to be with them. And so there's this thing that gets created in your world where you actually care what happens to them, and you care and you want to find out, and it also incites something in you, and it inspires something in you. And so the elements of intimacy in marketing are incredibly relevant. Like being willing to be vulnerable and being willing to be as grateful as you are, and honoring yourself and honoring other people, and having a total allowance and vulnerability, gratitude, honoring, trust. Oh, there's one more. Oh, I always have one slip out of my head. Anyway, if you think of it, let me know. So anyway, so there's that piece of it. Okay, so let's just jump tracks for a second. So engagement versus involvement. So the difference between engagement versus involvement is energetic. So this shows up for me specifically. Okay, let's talk, I have so many things to say about this topic. Okay, engagement versus involvement in marketing. Okay, So let's break down marketing for just a second. And maybe this should have been at the beginning of the show, but whatever, here we are. Marketing is the act and the choice of putting your thing out into the world so that people can choose to choose it. Now, engagement is the energetic choice you make to engage molecularly with everybody who would like to choose it. And out of the choice to engage comes actions. So when I am energetically engaged with my class and I'm energetically engaged with the people that want to take my class, they will pop out to me. And I might just message them and start a conversation with them. When I'm energetically engaged with my class, different kinds of Facebook posts will come out of me. When I'm energetically engaged with my class, the people who haven't chosen it yet, who maybe won't even choose it till 2 years in the future, different Instagram stuff comes out, different stories come out, different possibilities come out, different ideas come out. So engagement is an energetic choice that you make. And what I see with a lot of people doing, what I see a lot of people doing with their marketing is just doing. The action alone doesn't do the thing. The energetic engagement with the thing does the thing. So my question is, are you energetically engaging when you are marketing your classes? Yes or no? And if you're not, what could you choose that's different? Now that sounds it could sound esoteric, it could sound conceptual, but like here, I'll put up all my barriers and I'll stop energetically engaging you for a second. I have to almost hold my breath to do it, by the way. It's like really hard. And then I'll put down all my barriers. So you can do all the funnels and all the posts and all the sharing and all the translating. You can do all the doing and never, ever, ever energetically engage with anybody. And what that will create is probably proof of your point of view that you have of not succeeding, of not living, of, everything we choose is really proof of a point of view. So we could go into all of that. But instead of that, what you could start to play with is like, what would it be like to energetically engage? And let's talk about Aurelia always comments and then sends it as a private message too. You don't have to do that, honey. I see it. What kinds of questions do you ask to engage? Cool. I'll talk about that. But let's talk about real quick. It left my head. Okay, what kinds of questions do you ask to engage? So one of the first things that I do is I remember that you guys are people. One of the second things I choose, and this is not things I do, things I choose, is I remember that I'm the source of creation. So now you no longer have to choose or don't have to choose my class. You get to be you, and you get to choose anything you want to choose. And I get to know and be and receive and perceive that there's going to be lots of people that want to take my class. I just have to find them. I just have to be willing to receive them. I just have to get myself visible enough that this stuff is available enough that people can choose it. And I also can never make time a factor. When you make time a factor, so for example, if you're putting a class out there and you've made that class and that moment in time very significant, and people need to choose that class in that moment of time, and so you're going to do all your marketing so that they do that, so you can create this fixed result. You will project and expect that it has to happen, and so you create separation, judgment, and rejection. When you instead put this class and 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 this class, and you just start creating. You start doing shows, you start doing videos, you start giving tools, you start connecting with people, you have all this stuff going on, then what happens is this non-linear pathway of creation where people can show up or they cannot show up, but it starts to generate and create a totally different energy from which you start to function, everybody else starts to function, your classes start to contribute to, and it creates this different thing. And that's another thing, which is you being engaged in the creation of your life and your business, but your business is your life. So when you engage in the creation of your business like that, and you just start creating and generating stuff with no point of view about how it turns out, you get to then have a different result. And so what happens is, as you engage in the creation of all of that, different things show up totally different. You start creating for the future, you're creating for the now. People might show up now, they might show up in the future. You might have connected with, in that melee of creation, something different shows up. I get frustrated with all the rules. I feel constricted and confined, and I know the conclusions that other coaches preach don't create, so I get confused. Yeah. Okay, well, first thing I want to say, Jillian, is that confusion is a creation and a choice, so just give that up. You might need to come on the calls, but literally give up confusion, because you don't need to be confused. Confused is where we go when we're still trying to be right. I get it. I've been trying to be right for a really long time, but I'm giving it up all over the place. So you don't have to try to be right about this. What you got to look at is what's going to actually work. One of the things that back to when I was a waitress, this is actually really interesting. I started playing with different ways of approaching people. And so have you guys ever been to those big chain restaurants where they come up to you and they like do the spiel, right? They're like, "Hi, my name is Christel and I'm going to be taking care of you today, and our specials today are like the grilled fish with the lime cordial and the beurre blanc, and if you want to know our other special, well, our drink special, oh, this is really good, I really like this one, and it's yummy, and it's tall, and it's blue," and they're usually a little bit more, structured than that, but they come up and they do the spiel at you, and you just kind of feel this onslaught of like saliva and energy, and you're like, thanks for the spiel. You just kind of want them to go away. That's how most of us market. Then I've had those servers that come up to me that are like, "Hey," and I'm like, "Hi," and they're like, "Well, what's up?" And I'm like, "Well, just came in for a little whatever, and I'm thirsty. Like, what do you have a cocktail menu?" They're like, "Yes, let me get it for you." And then they bring it up and they're like, "Oh my God, I don't know if you want this or you even like whiskey, but you might love this new thing." And I'm like, "I totally do. Will you get that for me?" They're like, "Yeah." All of a sudden you have a completely different rapport. That guy's whose job it is to sell you a drink just did it in a totally different way. And now you're having a drink that you didn't even know you wanted because he made it feel sexy. And you're like, "I want to feel sexy. I'll just have that drink." Totally different experience. Someone who was doing their job versus someone who was being their job. So you got to look at what that is for you. Like if you have a bars business or a facelift business, are you trying to do a bars business? If you have a health coaching business, are you trying to do health coaching? Are you trying to do strategy sessions? So, there's this whole model in the coaching industry where you do this challenge or you do this free call and then you lead to strategy sessions and then you sell them coaching. And I've been playing with that a lot lately because one of the things I'm looking for always is how can I play with this in a way that works for me? There's a lot of things in that model of marketing that are really, really cool, but mostly because it gets you interacting with it gets me interacting with all of you guys. And we have this weird piece of technology between us. And so we have to get creative on ways we can actually connect with each other. But there's a way of doing all that stuff that allows you to connect with people and empowers you to actually create that connection. But you could do the same thing and never, ever, ever have that sensation, have that communion with the other people. And so it's not the challenge itself, or it's not the strategy sessions themselves, it's the what you're being with it. So like this latest round, I just did an actualized finance program. These two programs I have, actualized business and actualized finance, are fucking epic. And they're higher price points. So I said to everybody, I was like, "Hey, listen, if you're looking at choosing this and you just want to connect with me to get some more clarity or ask some questions around this, book a session." And then I created a thing so they could answer some questions, and then they came and talked to me. And what I was really aware of in all of those sessions is that you're a person and I'm a person, and you want to change in your life, and I want to be what I can be to facilitate that. And if there's anything I can be for you to facilitate that, whether you choose this or not, I will. It's not a free session. I'm not going to sit here and facilitate you for free, because some people choose those for free. But what can I be for you to create ease in your world? So that didn't mean that everybody that booked a strategy session with me signed up. But it did mean I got to be with them and they got to be with me. And it did create a future. And how do I know that? Because I asked after. Did it create a greater future? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, great. So if I'd have gotten hooked, you know, like, and this is what a lot of us do, we get like really fixed and hooked on fixed results, then I could have been disappointed, but then that would have negated everything that I created by hanging out with those people for 15 minutes. I mean, I know what a 15-minute can do for a person's life, and I know what it can do when they hang out with me. And that would be the other thing that I'd ask you is, do you get the gift that you are now and in the future? And so for me, like, I just have to have enough going on. Like, it's like, okay, so cool, we got a small group rolled in that, and we got a small group going in this. Okay, so what else can we add, and what else can we add, and what else can we add? So that I never have to put the source of my money in your lap. That's not your job to make me money. It's my job to ask for it, my job to demand of myself, and my job to, like, engage with you in whatever way is going to be fun for both of us. So what can I be for you to create these in your world? And if I include myself in that also, and I don't exclude myself, so what can I be for me and what can I be for you? So in that strategy session example, which is another way of marketing, I include myself in that I ask you very specific questions so that you know, hey, this isn't a free facilitation session, because I've done that before where people sign up and all they want is free, you know, from you. So this isn't a free facilitation session, so I include me in that. Like, hey, did you know this, and did you know this, and what about this, and what about this? And then when we get in there, I'm like, what can I be with you? Like, what do you have going on that I can contribute to? And what are you looking at with this? And is there anything I can do to make this choice easier for you? Thank you, Jillian. Well, this is why I'm doing a 3-part class on this topic, because, like, there's so much here that I think we're never told. We don't have this conversation out in the world. That's why the class is called Marketing to Engage. Why are you doing your marketing? Why? Are you doing it with a secret agenda? I mean, that's normal. That's what everybody tells you to do. Like, why else would you do marketing, right? Is the purpose of your business right now to just create a dollar bill, you know? People pick that up and it doesn't engage with them. And the thing about your business is that your business is fueled by the contribution of other people. And money is the form that we use to put that contribution in. But your business wouldn't exist without other people. My business doesn't exist without you guys. You know, I watched Taylor Swift. Do you guys, Taylor Swift, country star? She recently got an award for I think the biggest, most successful most successful worldwide tour for her latest tour. And the first thing she does in every single one of her speeches and in her concerts is she thanks her fans, that she wouldn't be there without her fans. Now the truth is that she wouldn't be there without her choices. But the other truth is she wouldn't be there without her fans. I mean, that's billions of people worldwide that want to go to a Taylor Swift concert. So it is this simultaneity of gifting and receiving. And the thing I find with most business owners, whether you're a brand new business or you're an established business, is that we start out wanting to prove ourselves. And we continue with wanting to prove ourselves, right? We start out wanting to prove that we're good at bars, we're good at this, we're good at this, we're good at that. We need to, and you know, I can look back on the different iterations of my website to see this. Of like, yeah, well, in the beginning of my website, it was like, I'm a good coach and I'm a 6-figure thing, you know, like all of it was about proving. And now my website is slowly changing into like about you, because really my business is about you. My business is about creating change in your life if you want it, creating change in the world for whoever wants it. That's really what my business is about. And then it includes money. And so, but all of that, all of this back underlying point of view comes through in your marketing. So really, marketing to engage is really looking at where you're functioning from and going, I want to keep talking, so that's why we're doing a 3-part class. What are you engaging with? Are you engaging with the dollar bills you hope will come from the actions that you take? Are you engaging with the people? Or are you engaging with the people and the possibilities and the change and the choice that's available? And what it is you'd really like to create with your business that you may not yet have acknowledged. So, goddamn, I'm going to shut up because I clearly could keep talking all day. So anyway, The link for that class is in this chat. It's starting, I don't know, we're starting next week. So you're invited to that if you'd like. And if you know some friends that would get a lot out of that conversation, it's going to be a 3-part class with, we're going to play with this. So it's going to be a very, very practical marketing class. And so anyways, you have the link there if you'd like that. But if you got anything out of this video, I'd be so grateful if you'd share it. And otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your care and for your support and just for your attention. I'm really grateful. You and I together can create this. How does it get better than that? Bye.